football music to kick us off here on a Wednesday. Talking sports with you. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. Don't forget, like our videos, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, click the link, and be a subscriber. Also, take those notifications, hit that little bell after you subscribe, so you know when we're putting stuff out. You know when we're live. You know when you can show up for us, because we're always going to show up for you. All right, today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Mattress and Sofas now. Add the sofas to it. You can get those sectional sofas. We're talking 30 to 70% off your mattresses, your box springs, your bedding. It's phenomenal. These guys are great. They're located right here in central New York in the greater Syracuse area. Go see our friends at Box Drop today. We will give you all the deets on Box Drop and drop a little 30-second commercial on you in a little bit so you can learn all about them and how to get in touch with them and save yourself some money. Boy Green, happy Wednesday. How are you, buddy?
Come on, Lerch. We can't bury the lead anymore. We're about to have a wonderful guest coming up here on the show, but it has happened. There's been a lot of promotion.
I'm
and
sad.
Finally, Lerch, right, you are sad.
Happy and sad at the same time. I don't know what to do with myself.
But folks out in the universe, we have reached 300 subscribers.
Every great thing has started with modest beginnings. And so modest beginnings they might be, but we're very proud of our lovely 303 subscribers.
Yeah.
And we are giving away our first item. We're going to be constantly bribing you to subscribe. And this time around, it's going to be that David Tyree The Catch framed photo, which is sitting right here on my wall. Perhaps it's
for now
interview. I'll pull it down, but I think it's gone, man. I've already got the bubble wrap and the
nice
giant safe box,
shipping,
the box
very important.
Ship it off. We'll be shipping it off. So we will announce that winner this week. Okay, Boy Green, we will pick that winner and announce that winner this week. So stay tuned. If you're one of our 303 subscribers, you're in. You're in. Okay,
and you're in for every future giveaway that we continue to do. So as long as you remain subscribed, you're in the running, baby.
All right. Yeah. Later this week, maybe even later today, I will show you our next big prize. All right. I mentioned it on Boy Green's show this morning. If you were tuned in, I was talking to him about it. All right. Without further ado, let's talk all things NFL. We do it every week with our NFL insider. He's from PFF. That's Pro Football Focus. It's the one, the only Dalton Wasserman. Hello, Dalton.
How's it going, guys?
Good to be with you.
Look at that. And very on brand. I like that. The PFF gear. Very nice.
I got a show to do right after this, so we gotta get it rolling. Just stay in uniform and get on with it. Got
it.
Yeah. Very on point. Very on point. All right, Lerch, there's a lot to get into here with a variety of things. One thing I just want to work in, because I don't know where this conversation is going to go after this, Dalton. It's the Tom Brady thing coming off of Monday Night Football. We've been talking about this for a while. So Tom Brady is highly paid, handsome broadcaster for Fox. But also, he had been trying to get ownership in the Las Vegas Raiders, and eventually that was approved. Now, last year, he was under very intense rules that prevented him from being in some of those broadcast meetings for less broadcast inclined people, production meetings and they get all kinds of guts. And Lerch can talk about this as a TV guy, that you get all kinds of info from the teams because they trust you and they spill their guts so you could give a good broadcast. But, there's a little bit of a conflict of interest here when, Tom Brady is also with the Raiders and he's up in the coaching booth with them. So it caused a lot of drama. The NFL put out a statement this week. So let me throw it all back to you, Dalton, with this latest twist. What do you make of this Tom Brady saga?
Look, I think if the league says it's within the rules, then so be it, right? I think it's similar to other conversations that have been had when you talk about the Eagles and the tush push or certain other rules about practice time and different things. The coaches and coaching staffs and front offices, they're going to push the boundaries on what exactly is allowed. And if the league says it's allowed, then, what are you going to do about it, really, right? It might seem on the surface like it's like, okay, you might be getting inside information. But if you're getting into a meeting with Tom Brady and it's one of those production meetings and things like that, if you don't want to say too much to them, then just don't say too much and just be aware of that sort of thing, right? Everybody's got connections throughout the league. You never know who you're talking to during the season and who they're going and talking to. So I think if the league sets it, if they're good with it, then I think we have no reason really to complain at all.
Anything on that, Lerch, you could share from your team?
I got plenty to complain about.
Oh, okay, please.
I'm sorry, Dalton, but I don't like hey, if the NFL says it's okay, it's okay. I mean, there's this thing called ethics in journalism. I'm a journalist. I teach journalism classes at the college level. I went to a great journalism school, the great Newhouse School at Syracuse University, and I learned a few things in those classrooms, and I pass along, dare I say, some of those nuggets to my students. You're right. I mean, look, the NFL teams that meet with Brady, that are going to be part of games that he's calling, have every right to limit the information they give him. And I assure you, they will be. Okay. Coaches, I've never met a more paranoid group of people in my life. I'll bring you back to the days of Paul Pasqualoni in Syracuse University. I mean, this guy, beyond stretching, he didn't want the media at his practices seeing anything. It was like, who are we telling? What are these great secrets? But I do think there are some ethical dilemmas here that if the league doesn't do something about, I think they're showing kind of their moral fiber, and it isn't particularly high, by allowing this to go on. I mean, this is clearly a conflict of interest. I don't see any way around it being a conflict of interest. I even think the restrictions they put on him last year was even like, okay, like a little tap on the wrist kind of thing. So I just don't like it. I don't agree with it. And I'm not willing to just let the seal decide my fate. I'm sorry, I got my own independent opinion on this one, and it ain't in concert with the Shield saying, it's fine. Yeah, we think it's fine. It's fine. Now,
I do still think a big part of it is too, though, that he is still not allowed to go to practices and see anything as other media members. So I mean, if everything he's getting is word of mouth, then I think then they're passing the obligation on to the coaching staffs and things.
Sure.
To just go, okay, don't say anything to him that might affect us or might, anything like that. But even then, everybody's got all 22. They can see what you're doing on the field. Practice plans and each individual game plan is different. But eventually, there's boatloads of information out there if you want to know how a team is playing. I mean, that's what I do on a weekly basis anyway with all the teams. So, and Tom knows football better than anybody, right? So I think it just comes down to, he's still not allowed to see anything in practices and that specific game plan or anything like that. But you can usually glean those sorts of things, at least 80% from the tape anyway.
I would say what made this situation stand out and why I think this has come back into the forefront is he's in the booth where the coaches are. He's got a headset on with a microphone, and you're just like, what's up? What's he doing? Who's he talking to? What kind of information is being passed around, in a game, the team that he's co-owner of is on the field playing against an opponent. And what's he doing up there? Is he a coach? Like, I mean, as bad as we don't like Jerry Jones, we don't see him there in his private booth with a headset and a mic on. Hey, now listen, coach, this is what did you hear what I heard last week? I think that's what brought it to a fever pitch, was the absurdity and the stupid tie that he was wearing. What was he doing in a shirt and tie up there? It just looked weird. But yeah, it was the headset and the mic and like Tom Brady seemingly engaged during a game alongside coaches who are calling in plays and doing things. And it's just like, what's that all about? I think that's what raised the red flag, frankly.
Yeah, no, I get it absolutely, but I think also it speaks to his ties with John Spytek, their GM, and Pete Carroll. And if you have Tom Brady as part of your ownership group, that's a resource, right? Now, I don't think he's certainly not allowed. I don't think to speak into the mics and all of those. I'm sure he's just listening, just so he has a better inside idea. And then after the game and whatever, he can go down to Pete Carroll and John Spytek and talk to them and just give him their opinions. But as not being an official part of the coaching staff, I don't think he's relaying anything during the game anyway.
Well, that's
correct. Yeah, right. That would be illegal, and it's not allowed. So that is not happening, according to the NFL anyway. And I wanted to try to avoid this for as long as possible, but the quarterback injuries are already piling up here going into week 3, and a devastating one for Cincinnati Bengals fans and, quite frankly, NFL fans, man. Joe Burrow out a minimum of 3 months. We'll see. People keep telling me that Joe Burrow has apparently Bengal blood in his veins, so apparently that must make you heal faster or something. So we can check out the science of that later. But now, what do the Bengals do here, Dalton? On one end, they're 2-0, which great. They got a little bit of cushion here, but 3 months without your near MVP quarterback. And now you have Jake Browning. Do you break the glass on a Kirk Cousins? Do you make a Jameis Winston call? Do you ride with what you got because Jake Browning knows the system? What do you do here, Dalton? Because a tough situation here for Cincy.
I think they've made it obvious and very clear that their option that they're going with is just rolling with Jake Browning. He's played good football before. He played pretty good football last week in the win over Jacksonville, won him that game. And he knows the system. Zach Taylor is familiar with them in the communication, the operation, everything like that of the offense. They're just going to ride it out, I think. And however many games they win, they win. And if they're still in contention for a playoff spot when Joe is scheduled to come back at least, then they let Burrow take back over and see where it goes. But no, I mean, it just speaks to what the Bengals as an organization have neglected for years and years, and that's their offensive line. 4 of Burrow's first 5 years, they had a bottom 5 offensive line in our grading. The one year they weren't, they were somewhere around 20th, and this year they're bottom 5 again. It's just the refusal to find substantially better pass protection for this guy who is, you could argue, the best pocket passer in the league. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? And we've talked a lot about the defense eroding and different things like that over the years, but the offensive line has just never gotten better. Even after that Super Bowl at the end of the 2021 season, when pass protection was clearly the reason they didn't win the Super Bowl, they just never fixed it. You look at that compared to an organization like Kansas City, who, especially after the first Super Bowl loss to Tampa Bay, they went and got 5 new starters up front immediately and fixed it and said, we're not doing this again. The Bengals have just been content to do that again and try to get Burrow to bail them out of bad pass protection. But you can't win in this league. You can't win a championship with a bad offensive line.
So, Dalton, are you saying that the Cincinnati Bengals should have taken Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase? Is that what you're saying?
No, honestly, I don't think so. I think Jamar was the right choice, and he's arguably the best receiver in football, but certainly in subsequent years, and they've obviously tried with Amarius Mims, and that hasn't really worked out so far, but they haven't thrown enough resources at it when knowing on the interior they have, below average players, knowing, at left tackle, or the Orlando Brown signing just hasn't worked, right? He moved up. I believe he switched sides when he came to the Chiefs from right tackle to left tackle, and it just hasn't worked, right? So there's a couple moves that haven't worked, but then I just don't think they've thrown enough resources at it year over year to really make this thing substantially better.
So you said that the Bengals plan, based on everything that they've done this week, is to go to Jake Browning. Okay, so that's what they decided to do. I now ask you, Dalton, was that the right move or the wrong move to go, quote unquote, all in on Jake Browning here, as opposed to, again, everything I said, Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston? Maybe there's another move we're not thinking about that could be available to be a bit more aggressive here during Burrow's absence.
Yeah, I think it would be different if this happened during the preseason or before the season, when a new quarterback would have time to learn this offense, right? But when it happens during the season, I think one thing that gets forgotten with all the quarterback trade theory and going to get Jameis Winston or anything like that is you get a guy in a whole new offense. And if he was going to start this week, he would start on 3 days' notice for the Bengals, as opposed to Browning, who's been in the system for several years. Now, you could go get a guy like that anyway, but you're still starting Browning knowing that operationally he knows the offense and he knows the cadences and the route timings and everything like that. It's much different when your quarterback gets hurt during the season. It's very valuable to have a guy who knows the system beforehand, or a guy maybe a coach has previous experience with. I think about, I don't know if O'Connell, I know they signed somebody. I think Mike White they signed, and I don't know that he's familiar with the system, but even somebody like a Brandon Allen, who he used to have, who's familiar with the system, that's big when it comes to having a backup quarterback, either being in the system before or having familiarity with that coach. That's what Browning has, and that's his advantage, at least right now, to start over anybody else that would come in.
Let's talk about some of the other injured quarterbacks, because there are a bunch. How about what's going on in Minnesota? I mean, there have been some rumors out there that this could be kind of a quasi-soft benching. I think it's a legit injury, but is it as serious as it seems to be trumpeted out there right now? But there's no question that Minnesota is going to have to go to somebody else here, at least for a couple of weeks. So what does that mean to the Vikings?
It's kind of interesting because McCarthy, outside of the fourth quarter in week 1, really has not played well through his first 2 games. And I'm with you. I don't think this is any sort of benching. I don't think you want to embarrass the guy, and he's your top 10 pick, and you're supposed to be your franchise quarterback, and a young kid's got to struggle for a bit, right, to then get better after that. But no, I think the Vikings can function with Carson Wentz. I think the bigger thing for them right now is that they need their left tackle Christian Darrisaw back. Ryan Kelly, their center, is hurt also. He's going to be out this week, I believe. And Wentz is a solid veteran, and I think what you've seen with Kevin O'Connell is he can score points with just about anybody at quarterback, right? So I think Wentz can go in there. He can run that system. They do need to have balance and run the football well, but you look at that stable of weapons that he has, I think he can function. And that's obviously an interesting game with them playing Cincinnati this week with both backups against each other. I think Wentz could absolutely go in there and win that game, if not more.
That would be crazy. Another QB injury, unfortunately. Our Lord and Savior, Dalton. Justin Fields is in the NFL's concussion protocol. So we're going to have to keep an eye out for that. AG will give us an update shortly after we're done here with our live show here. What did the Jets do? Do you just, again, sort of, is it the default, just ride with what you got? Tyrod Taylor, promote Brady Cook, undrafted free agent from the practice squad, and you're like, hey, Fields will come back at some point from this concussion, whether it's this week or future weeks.
Yeah, honestly, and I know this is going to be a lower level of urgency than some Jet fans may want because they want to win a ball game at some point. But yeah. I don't think there's any reason to rush it, right? I mean, when you talk about a concussion and the likelihood that it could happen a second time, especially subsequently, I think you're talking about, okay, play it safe. And Aaron Glenn, even I believe he said earlier this week, if guys don't practice Tuesday or Wednesday, he's usually on the side of not playing them anyway because now they don't have the practice reps and the game plan and all of that stuff. Maybe at quarterback that's a little different. Tyrod Taylor played okay in the one or two drives that he was in the other day against Buffalo. He's a serviceable veteran quarterback. That's why they kept him around in the first place, was in case of this very thing. But I think if it's a borderline decision, I don't think they're going to rush him because they know, obviously, with Justin Fields and where they are as a team, you'd rather see him out there for as many games as possible at 100% than force him out there to be at 80, 70 or 80%, and then he gets hurt again, and then things just spiral from there.
Let's go to Dalton, Wasserman, PFF, our NFL insider. Go ahead, Boy Green, jump in there.
Yeah, no, Kevin O'Connell, is this QB whisperer, and with JJ McCarthy out, Carson Wentz is going to be the guy for the Purple People Eaters. What should expectations be for a guy a couple years ago who was an almost MVP before he got hurt?
I think the same expectations as Kevin O'Connell has had for a lot of his other quarterbacks, right? Before he really blew up last year. Sam Darnold, Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, all of these guys that O'Connell has gotten to play at least functional football, and he's a master play caller as far as getting guys open and the play action concepts and marrying it with the run game. I think you expect Carson Wentz to go in there and be functional. He can be a functional NFL quarterback. He's not the best quarterback in the league, but as long as he protects the football, he's certainly got a good enough arm to make all the throws, and he's got enough athleticism to get outside the pocket. Again, I think O'Connell, he's proven he can win with a lot of different quarterbacks and a lot of different types of quarterbacks. I think Wentz really can fit in nicely, especially when you consider the very little passing production they've gotten the first 2 weeks of the year. The bar is not exactly very high right now for improvement in that passing game.
Would there be any chance in your mind, Dalton? We know that, there's this guy. He's got a lot of dust on him right now, just sitting around in Atlanta, left, the Vikings to go to Atlanta for a big contract. And, the Vikings made that decision. They want to go with the youngster, but they're in a little bit of trouble right now. And if this injury were to become a little more serious or could persist a little bit, is there any chance that you think, because I think the one team Cousins might actually be willing to be traded to, because he has a no trade, is to come back to the Vikings. He knows the system, he knows the coach, he knows everything. Right now he's just collecting dust. You see any chance that could happen?
Not if McCarthy's timeline is only, I think, what did they say, 2 to 4 weeks?
2 to 4.
Yeah.
Not if McCarthy's timeline stays there, and it would only be if Carson Wentz maybe also suffered an injury, right? If McCarthy was out for the season and then Wentz didn't look great for a couple weeks, maybe then I could see that. But the money and this year on the contract is very prohibitive. The Falcons have said before they were satisfied with the idea that Cousins is the backup to Michael Penix if anything were to happen to Penix. And we know Penix, at least in college, to be injury prone, right? So, and I think they like him as a mentor and a guy who's back there teaching Penix the little details of the passing game and things like that for the Falcons. So I think it's highly unlikely, especially with McCarthy on such a short-term timeline with his injury. If it was longer term, then I think there'd be a greater chance of that.
Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, baby. Join the 300 plus strong, and that feels great to say in terms of the subscriber base for @MC Show Digital. Also, guys, you guys can drop a couple of questions in there for Dalton Wasserman as well. Go ahead, Lerch.
Our today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse. Let's just take 30 seconds to learn a little bit more from our friends at Box Drop.
Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family owned, huge savings, no pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse mattress and sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com.
Oh, sorry, guys.
That gets me every time.
That box drop mattress felt so good. I had to continue that. With Dalton Wasserman, it's at MC Show Digital. Don't forget, like and subscribe. And we're talking all things NFL. We do this every single Wednesday with Dalton in our live show. Dalton, I know you know this, so I'm not going to test you in your statistical knowledge because that's what PFF is all about. But the top two by yardage passers in the National Football League after a couple of weeks here are Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones, the giant guys. What in the world is going on? The world is upside down and off its axis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Russell Wilson, you saw what he still can do last week against Dallas with the deep ball, right? And that's the big thing. If they can protect him long enough, that was the idea of opening up this offense and just getting vertical plays going. Malik Neighbors has speed. Wan'Dale Robinson has speed. Guys like Jalen Hyatt have speed, right? Russell Wilson is a downfield passer even at his age. And if you give him enough time in the pocket, that's what you can do. And I know they didn't win this game because of their defense, but he's capable of still winning ball games and throwing the ball vertically downfield. And then it's funny because Daniel Jones is quite the opposite, right? They went to Jones with a more conservative approach away from Anthony Richardson and the big arm and all of that. And Jones, I think, is a perfect fit for Shane Steichen's offense. They run RPOs at the highest rate in the NFL. He's doing great in their play action concepts. He's making a couple of big throws a game when they need him. But the big thing is just you see in this Colts offense, the goal is to complete passes. And it just wasn't happening enough with Richardson. It's happening right now with their complement with the really good complementary.
Talking with Dalton Wasserman, PFF, our NFL insider. It's a live version of the Manchild Show with Boy Green. We do it every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Go ahead, BG. Jump in. Oh, you're muted. Sorry. Yeah, you got caught with the old muted mic there.
I know. I'm such an idiot. I got caught with my pants down. We learned that in the Zoom era, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. What's he saying? What a moron. All right.
Great question.
Yeah. That was probably the best question I'm ever going to ask. It's it's too bad you didn't hear it. I won't ask that question ever again. So, Dalton, I don't know where you stand on this. You get a mulligan for this, potentially to change your opinion. Where do you stand on the tush push? Because it reached a different level during the Chiefs-Eagles game. The Eagles obviously have been dominating that play. The rest of the NFL has not caught up to it. There's been criticisms from offensive linemen on social media that study this and say, hey, there are false starts happening on all these plays, but it's so bang that officials aren't able to, officiate it in a way that they could other plays. And the other part was during that Eagles-Chiefs game on one of the exchanges, it appeared that maybe the ball was fumbled and a Chief player came out of the pile with it, and the refs are like, well, there's no camera angle because of all the bodies to confirm. So, did a fumble happen? Did a fumble not happen? I don't know. First down Eagles. And people were like, wait, what the heck? So there's a lot of drama here around it, and the play was almost banned during the annual league meetings just a handful of months ago. What do we do with the tush push? Where do you stand on it with the latest, twists and turns?
It won't shock me if it's banned next spring because of the controversies that are still coming out of it, more so than the execution of the play. I think, look, there's the old phrase, people will do what you allow them to do, right? So if they're allowed to run the play, they're going to run it because they do it better than anybody else. Well, the problem to me is the false starts, like you mentioned, and then just when you have entire offensive lines lining up in the neutral zone, that's not how this is supposed to work. And that is a part of what is making it successful right now, right? Not that you don't have a quarterback that squats 700 pounds, because that helps too. But I just think you're talking about referees and officials on the field needing to enforce the fact that, look, there's a neutral zone. The football is a neutral zone. You're not supposed to be in it on either side. It gets enforced on the defensive side every week, but on the offensive side in this case, and you mentioned even with the replay with the scrum that happens because of it, it gets real hard to spot the football too, right? Which only makes their jobs more difficult. And I know they're focused on that because it's the same officials worried about that as are, with the neutral zone. And when they quick count it and things like it just gets so convoluted in there. But that's the one thing. If the play is going to be allowed to happen, then fine. They just need to enforce the rules, especially pre-snap, the way that they should be enforced.
All right. Is the bloom off the rose, Dalton, with the Kansas City Chiefs? Now 0-2. Ouch.
They need to win this week. I'm gonna give it one more week.
It's a tough matchup too.
It is. It's a tougher than you think matchup against another 0-2 team going on the road to play the Giants. Right, the defensive line is good, and the funny thing to me, we mentioned Russell Wilson before. If he's kept clean in the pocket, he can still make those throws. The Chiefs' pass rush has been almost non-existent through 2 games. Chris Jones hasn't been the usual Chris Jones yet. Some of those other guys on the D-line, Karlaftis and Mike Dannon, some of those guys, they just haven't gotten to quarterbacks through the first 2 weeks. So I think the matchup to me to watch in that game is the Giants' offensive line, which is generally not great, against the Chiefs' defensive line, which has not been great through 2 weeks. Which of those units is going to win that battle? And if it's the Giants and Wilson's protected for most of the game, they can absolutely win that game. And if the Chiefs get to be 0-3 with the way the Chargers are playing, with what we know the talent Denver has, and obviously the Raiders are even a decent football team now, I think. I know it was a poor showing on Monday, but I think they're better than that. It's going to be tough to climb out of 0-3.
All right, let me finish off with a couple of questions about Week 3 and previewing that to come. It starts on Thursday Night Football. I'll ask you this. If the Dolphins lose to the Buffalo Bills, is Mike McDaniel fired?
It might depend how bad it is. If it's a blowout, something, 35-7 or whatever, then we might be talking. I have been of the belief that he is going to get this week and he's going to get next week against the Jets. Just I think the optics of getting your 3 divisional opponents all in a row. And if you were to lose all 3 of those games, especially that last one, who there's a lot of people that still think the Dolphins are better than the Jets, then I think you have nowhere left to go, and the end of week 4 might be the end of it. Now, if they do get blown out this Thursday, you get the mini bye to readjust to a new head coach and things like that. But I've been of the belief that he's going to get these 3 division games and see where it goes from there. If they're 0-4, I don't see it getting past that.
Dalton, prediction. Does Brian Daboll last the season as head coach of the Giants?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he does. I think the first game was a matter of them just not having a lot of offensive line talent, and they just weren't going to go into Washington and win that game. And last week, look, they offensively at least have played a good football game. And Brian Daboll, I really think, is a good coach. They've just been saddled with some bad draft decisions, some bad personnel, especially in the trenches on the offensive side. And I think they've looked good enough so far, even though they're 0-2, that he's not going to lose his job. And he's also, his fate's going to be tied at least loosely to Jackson Dart here, right, at some point. So, I don't know that he makes it to next year. We'll see about win-loss record and how many games they end up winning. And obviously John Mara has whatever loose mandate that he has. But I do think for now he is safe.
All right. Is there a potential Super Bowl preview happening on Monday Night Football when the Detroit Lions take on the Baltimore Ravens?
The Lions, I'm still waiting to see. They played a fantastic game against the Bears, and I think the Bears' defense is just not very good right now, especially with Jalen Johnson possibly out for the rest of the season. This is going to be a real test for them, and I know they already had one in week 1, and they didn't play well in that game, but Baltimore is obviously really good. It's a hostile road environment to go into. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry didn't play actually that well against the Browns last week, despite the score. So I think they're looking for a bounce back against this Lions defense. And this is really now where the pressure is going to be on Jared Goff.
Fair enough. Dalton, only a few more here, and then we'll let you dip out of here. Again, looking ahead to NFL Week 3, what's a game that stands out to you? Obviously, we got the Matt Eberflus revenge game. We've got Cowboys-Bears. How does that not go to a top of a pile, obviously? We've got the old-school rivalry of Patriots-Steelers. That's a fun one. It probably looked better on paper, the Bengals-Vikings, before we got all these backup quarterbacks involved, but that's probably neither here nor there. What tickles your fancy this week in Week 3, Dalton?
I'm going to give you 2. Eagles-Rams is a fantastic football game, and I think the big question for the Rams is they went out, they signed, the defensive tackle Poona Ford, they signed the linebacker Nate Landman, they signed those guys to stop the run specifically to beat the Eagles, and I'll tell you what, Matthew Stafford just playing great football right now. He is making every throw in the book for this team. Devontae Adams looked great last week. I think the Rams can go to Philly and give the Eagles a real challenge. I think the Eagles are going to need more out of Jalen Hurts than they've gotten the first 2 weeks in the passing game. The passing game really has not looked good for the Eagles. And I'm going to throw a sleeper one at you. I'm curious, speaking of teams that are trying to avoid 0-3 starts, I'm curious to see how the Houston Texans come out and respond to that tough Monday night loss in Jacksonville. They generally have a very hard time winning in Jacksonville. They beat them last year, but I believe that ended a long streak of them losing games in Jacksonville. They have a hard time stopping the run. They don't look great up front right now against the run, and the Jags are running the ball really, really well. And the Texans, again, this is a thing of I believe across the board on paper, they're the most talented team in the AFC South. But when your offensive line is that bad, any given week, you can lose ball games. And C.J. Stroud, even in a better week for that O-line this past week, he was still under pressure 40% of the time. Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead, they could cause the Texans a lot of problems. And if they do, the Texans could be 0-3.
All right, last one from me, Dalton, and that's this. Give me right now, okay? There's about a third of the league right now that's undefeated, 2-0. Best team in the AFC right now, best team in the NFC right now.
Best team in the AFC right this minute.
It's the Jets, isn't it?
Close. I'm gonna go because they got the win over Baltimore and obviously dominated. I'm gonna go with Buffalo for the moment. I still have questions about their defense in big spots when we get to the postseason. I would go with Buffalo. The Chargers also look fantastic though. And then in the NFC, to me, through 2 weeks, it's clearly the Packers. They have just been dominant on both sides of the ball. Last week, the secondary looked fantastic against Washington. Micah Parsons it got the inside track, the defensive player of the year. Jordan Love's bouncing back. He's playing a lot better than he did last year. I think the NFC is pretty clear right now. I know the Eagles are still the Eagles, but they've played shakier football through 2 weeks. I think the Packers are clearly the best team in the NFC through 2 weeks.
Nice bounce back by the Lions this week, too. That was impressive. They needed to do that, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Dalton, let's finish off here. Pro Football Focus, baby. What the hell is cooking over there? You and Trevor Sikkema, who joined me on my Boy Green Daily show for some Jets-Bucks chat this week. I know you guys are always killing it over there at PFF with the NFL show and everything else you guys got going on. So please plug it up.
Absolutely. On YouTube, the PFF NFL show. Trevor and I are about to go on our NFL preview show, previewing all 16 games and predicting those right after this. And then I'm also on the PFF college football show with Max Chadwick. This week we previewed the 10 biggest games in college football, some really good matchups. Utah, Texas Tech. I'm forgetting some of them now. Michigan, Nebraska is a huge game. Auburn, Oklahoma. So we go through so many, I forget them sometimes. But PFF NFL show, PFF college football show. And actually, as far as that goes, we got a promo code on a PFF Plus annual subscription right now. PFF CFB 25% off a PFF Plus subscription to see all the grades and stats you want to see there and get help with your fantasy teams.
Which, by the way, I just have it in front of me. Looking at some of these juicy games. Illinois, Indiana, a couple of top 25 matchups here on the docket for college football weekend. So I'm sure you guys, Auburn, Oklahoma, you guys will have plenty to discuss. There's no question about it. So, Dalton, as always, my friend, we appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Dalton. All right, there he is, PFF's Dalton Wasserman, giving us some love on all things NFL. We do that every Wednesday with Dalton to kick off our live show. Welcome to jump into the comments if you want and throw any questions you have towards us or anything that Dalton talked about. We'd love to throw up some comments, have a little chatter here before we depart. Dalton did mention fantasy football, and we are through week 2 in fantasy football. You know, I gotta take a moment here to to throw this up on thing, because you never know how often and how long you're going to be sitting atop the league. But yes, that indeed is the Manchild's team there at the top. That is Stairway to Evans. I should have worn my shirt today.
Yeah.
I'll wear it in a later broadcast this week. Boy Green, how you doing? Oh, there you are, kind of in the middle of the pack. A little
7
lost this week. You faltered a little bit. I took out Joe Bartle, which was a bravo moment. I think I'm now going to have to try to show up for at least a piece of the Bartle interview on Friday, since he was giving me guff that I wasn't showing up because he was going to, whack me over the head with a pole. Well, that didn't happen. It went the other way. And now Joe Bartle's in the middle of the pack. And dare I say, the Manchild is in heaven looking down at everyone else. I like that very, very much.
Yeah, I will say this. Fantasy is such a cool beast, and everyone loves hearing other people's fantasy football problems. But I would just say, so I'm paying attention. We had 2 Monday Night Football games, one that started at 7, one that started at 10, and the second one went to like 1 in the morning or something. It was very late, very, very late in its happenings. And
I know you were staying up for that one, because I saw what was going on in your matchup, and I go, well, Boy Green's basically got one bullet to dodge here, and that is Jacoby Myers. Is Jacoby Myers going to do him in? I think he needed about 10 or 12 points.
That's exactly
knock you out. And it's just like, hey, that could be a 50-50 proposition.
Very much so.
Jacoby Myers, that offense. They obviously didn't score a lot of points, but did he get one of those late ones? Because I did not.
He did. So I'm watching the game, and they're ignoring him at first, and I'm like, oh, phenomenal. Because every drive they ignore him, I'm like, that's one less opportunity. You could have got something. And then for 3 plays in a row, they ran a play that was designed to get the ball in Jacoby Myers' hands. Naked boot, and he's just dragging across the field. Like, clearly he is progression number 1. And so Gino just dumps it off to him. like 10 yards. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Stop running this play, please. And at the end of the game, there's 7 minutes left. And I'm on the edge. I'm winning by like 3 points, but it's full point PPR. That ground can be made up very quickly. And they complete a pass to him, and he breaks a tackle and gets 25 yards, and that ends up costing me the game. And that was his last catch of the game. So if he doesn't get that, I win, and I'd be the third best team in football, or fourth, however it works in our standings here with point totals. So I would have been top 4, but unfortunately that loss cost you in. So you're on the edge of your seat for a random Raiders game that I have, in theory, no stake in whatsoever, but I'm on the edge of my seat. And I found out at 1 a.m. that I got kicked right in the loins and unfortunately dropped down to 1-1. But at least I'm not 0-2. There's a lot of losers down there at 0-2. So, thankfully I'm not swimming in that pool.
3 undefeated teams, as you can see at the top of the standings, left in our league. I am stay away to Evans. Boy, Green is Dr. Fields good. Not hard to figure those things out.
Yeah.
Although Evans doesn't make a lot of sense with me, but I just like the ring of it. Stairway to Heaven is one of my favorite songs, so that's why I went with that this year. Who's Saquon Hurts in our league? Who is that? Is that
that is Big Al?
That's Big Al. So Big Al, this is a guy that was in the Champs League 2 years ago, finished in the bottom 3, dropped down to the Chumps League last year, and earned his way back. And now he's in contention here early. It's always good to be in that position. I know Auto Rich is our buddy Austin, a young player who joined us just a couple of years ago, and he's had a couple of good years. 1 year made it to the championship game. And didn't win. And that's our defending champion right now, sitting in 4th place, Jabber's Wing Sauces. He has a pretty good roster again this year. Just Joe is Joe Bartle's team. And then you have the rest of our league. Way down at the bottom of our league is our former intern and now a host on the station that we used to work for over at the Score 1260. Our good buddy, Mark Rowland's got to get himself out of the cellar and out of those bottom 3 spots in a hurry. So there you go.
He lost by less than a point. I really enjoyed that. I'm going to be honest. Mark was talking, when fresh meat, because again, in our league, we have new people that come in from the bottom and they come in chirping.
Yeah. There's a lot of chirping when the newbies come in. Like, I'm going to take over this league. Look out. Now the real deal's here. Everything changes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys got away with a lot of stuff when I wasn't here. I'm going to hold you accountable. He didn't even show up to the draft because he had some situation pop up. It might have been serious. Who knows? But anywho, he doesn't show up to the draft. And now this guy hasn't shown up for any of the weeks either. 0-2. So when he lost by less than a point to Courtney, I said, bravo, loved it. And I sipped up all those Mark tears. So, hey, this guy could go right back where he came from in the Chumps League where he belongs. So, terrific.
Well, we'll
I really enjoyed it.
I'll tell you what, you get into this 0-2. If you get to 0-3, to me, 0-2, it happens. You can climb out of that. When you get to 0-3 in fantasy, because of the length of the season, it's not 17 games. The regular season is what, about 12-ish, Boy Green, in fantasy, something like that. 12,
14,
13?
I believe.
14. Okay, so 14 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with buys some of those weeks too, so you don't even have your full complement. If you get to 0-3 in your fantasy league, my heavy-duty advice is get busy on a trade wire. Get busy, on the waiver wire, and get busy with some trade possibilities. Be active in your league and look for where you need to plug holes. You might have to. You get in that situation, and you're in our leagues where you're just trying to stay out of the bottom 3. Sometimes you got to take like one of your star players and turn it into 2 starters. And I know you don't want to, but if you've got 2 subpar starters in those spots, and you can get 2 real guys for the price of 1, sometimes you got to do that. And most other fantasy owners who are more in contention will, of course, take the good guy for the 2 lesser guys because they're trying to strengthen the top end of their roster a little bit more. But sometimes you got to level out your roster if you're in the struggle mode and your guys aren't delivering. So folks like Mark, if Mark ends up getting to 0-3, you better get busy on the trade wins, talking to people and trying to see who might be available out there, who people are a little bit down on that you think could still, turn it around and come back. You and I would talk a little bit off air about the slow start that what's his name, Brian Thomas has had.
Oh yeah, BTJ. I was super high on him before.
Super high on him too. I could have very well, if I was in the right spot in the draft, probably would have picked him. He's been off to a terrible start. Justin Jefferson has been a little slow to get going. But there have been some other really good players who are off to slow starts. But that can kill you in fantasy unless the rest of your team's playing well. So you got to move sometimes. You can't sit and be stagnant and just hope your players somehow come to life. Because guess what? By the time they come to life, you could be playing some of the better teams in the league, and then you lose 145 to 140. And you're like, wow, I finally had a good week, and I've got another L. All right. So you got to make hay early in fantasy It's not all about the beginning. It's not all about the end, but you got to try to strike some kind of balance. And sometimes if you get off to a bad start, you got to do something, even if you don't want to. Even if you love Brian Thomas and he's on your roster, go move him and go get some other people.
You got to do what you got to do.
Get a hot hand. Get something else. I mean, Jordan Mason could be hot this week. He's like a hot commodity this week. He happens to be on my roster already. People are making offers to me, about Jordan Mason. Why? Well, he's going to be starting running back. It looks like for the next 4 weeks for a Vikings team. It's got a quarterback situation. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to go to the run game, and he was pretty good when he filled in San Francisco. So, you gotta think ahead. You gotta try, and sometimes you gotta just try to plug the holes and get from week to week and get a couple of W's piled up. Because if you can get in the middle of the pack, you're in much more survivable mode than if you just stay at the bottom. And in our leagues, as you know, you get booted if you're in the bottom. So you can't. You got to get busy early.
All right, let's answer a bunch of questions or comments. Okay. And first off, again, I want to give another shout out. We're streaming live. This show streams live, our live show, on the Manchild Show at Boy Green Digital Facebook page, the Manchild Show at Boy Green Digital YouTube page, which, by the way, just surpassed 300 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for your support. And my YouTube channel at Boy Green 25. Make sure if you guys are watching on YouTube, you like the video and hit subscribe. And also engage yourself in the comments. Get familiar with your fellow commenters. And I see you guys introducing yourselves to each other. If you don't know each other, if you do know each other, it's a community. And hopefully you guys can be a part of it as we do all these live shows. So let's dive into some of these comments. A very pressing question here from Badshaw here, Lerch. When does he get his David Tyree autograph? When's
Should I pull it off the wall one more time?
Yeah, of course.
Right. I'm going to pull it off permanently here. All right, hold on.
Yeah, because the next time it's going in a box. So, yes, for those who don't or are unaware, when we reached 300 subscribers, which we reached earlier this morning on Boy Green Daily, so thanks to the people, Lerch said, and I'm going to expand the screen here, Lerch said he would give this away, and now he's a man of his word, and this is being given away, this beautiful piece of merch. Go ahead, Lerch.
Yep, it's a David Tyree autograph, The Catch. It's got his number on there. It's got the Super Bowl with the Roman numerals. And it says champ, Super Bowl, blah, 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 champ. I'm not trying to read those.
Yeah, it's
Roman
42,
numerals.
Super Bowl 42.
Right, number 85. And then you can see the nice size of that autograph. That big part right there up in the upper right corner of that picture is indeed a giant David Tyree autograph. It's a nice autograph. Some players are really
some players suck. And David Tyree has a beautiful signature. The photo is beautiful. That's an officially NFL licensed photo. So it's absolutely terrific. Good luck. Me and Lerch will randomly pick one of our first 300 subscribers to determine who's going to win that. Badshaw, you as a subscriber are eligible. And again, if you guys just missed out and you're just hearing of our show for the first time, no worries. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one because more gifts are to be given, Lerch.
Hey, can I just go get something? Can you just
sure.
hold the fort here for a second? I'm just going to go get something.
Okay, sure. Yeah. We'll come back to you, Lerch. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, do you have it now? Wait 1 second. Go ahead.
Well, one thing I have, but let me just go get one other thing. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Be right back.
Okay. Yeah, he'll be right back. So no worries. I'll answer some more of your guys' comments here. And I saw we had a Jets question. So let me get that in there. Someone I was asking about. Yes, let's go to Craig Hatch. Craig, any defensive ends out there we could pick up to limit Michael Clemens' snap count? I think that's a beautiful way to describe it, too. We need depth at defensive end. Here's the problem, Craig. Member of the Boy Green Coffee Club. Appreciate you. The most prominent names have just come off the board. Bing, boom, bam. Number one, I've been pounding the table for Jadeveon Clowney forever. He's gone. He's on the Dallas Cowboys. Zadarius Smith, who had an Aaron Glenn connection. He's off to the Philadelphia Eagles. Preston Smith was the most notable pass rusher still on the market. He signed with the Washington Commanders, so he's off the market. So the most notable names, now we're swimming in these waters. DeMarcus Walker, John Kaminsky, a Lions connection, so that could make sense. Jerry Hughes, Shaq Barrett, who rejected the Jets to go to the Dolphins and then retired and came back, and a lot of hoopla there. Carl Lawson's on that list. So long story short, there's not a lot of sexy names, people. Not a lot of sexy names, but those would be some of them that I would say there. Go ahead, Lerch.
Okay, so the thing I want to show that was just kind of related to Tyree. So we're giving away that Tyree autograph thing. Now you know what this is, okay? So this is a ball. This is an actual ball that this is the exact ball that's used in the Super Bowl, okay? And this was from the Super Bowl. What is the number again, Boy Green? So it's
42.
42. All right. This is the Giants beating the undefeated Patriots and give them their one blemish and not letting them walk away with the championship.
Yeah, 2007. Back in that season. Yep.
So I managed to get my hands on a few of these. They make extra balls for the Super Bowl, and I managed to get my hand on a few of them. We gave a bunch of them away in our radio world to listeners, and I decided I was going to hold on to one. So I held on to this one, and I talked to Paul for years and years and years about getting it autographed. This was post Super Bowl now. I got the ball before the Super Bowl. All right. And then I held on to one of the balls. And then after the Giants won that Super Bowl and David Tyree made that catch, I said, man, I ought to get Tyree and Eli's autograph on this ball. That would be like a Giant fan's dream. All right. Now, the backstory is, go ahead. You could put us back up in a 2-box.
Yes,
the backstory, Paul, as you know, is that you secretly got this ball out of a box in my basement. You got my wife to get you in the house. She didn't even know what the ball was.
She did not. She gave me the wrong ball.
I wasn't around. Found the ball. You sent it to a friend of ours who works for the Giants, who went and collected. His job was just to get Eli Manning's autograph because we
was still on the team,
right? Who was still on the team at that point. And we just knew it would be difficult to get Eli's autograph. And we wanted a nice autograph, want him to sign it nicely, because this is going to be
not just scribbled randomly.
This isn't being sold. This is going to be the Manchild's ball for life, right?
Yeah.
So you sent it down very fearfully because you were worried. This is Christmas time. This turned into be my Christmas gift.
I could just get lost.
Yeah. So this was in November or something that you sent this down.
Yeah.
And our guy, sure enough, found Eli, told him, the meaning behind it, and got him to sign the ball. Okay, so indeed, there's Eli's autograph on this ball.
Let's go back full screen there.
Here, but I know it's backwards in the dumb camera, but
no, it looks perfect. Actually,
beautiful. One of those nice silver markings takes up an entire panel there. Eli Manning. Okay, so back to 2-box here. So okay, great. That same day that our contact down there is able to get Eli Manning's autograph, I'm figuring, well, Boy Green and I both know David Tyree. Like I said, I, for many years, interviewed him here at Syracuse. I'm going to be able to track Tyree down. Sometimes he comes up to Syracuse and visits.
Sure.
At some point, David Tyree's going to sign this ball. All right. But as
Eli was harder.
Fate would have it, that very day where our buddy collects the Eli Manning autograph, David Tyree is at the Giants headquarters at One Giants Drive or whatever it is.
Yes, you're right.
All right. Right there at the Meadowlands. And so he sees Tyree in the hallway right after he gets the ball signed by Eli. And he says, hey, I need you for something. And he takes the same pen. And here we go. There it is. Just like it looks like on that beautiful picture that I'm sending out. You can tell it's the same autograph. That is David Tyree's autograph. Nice big autograph with the 85 there, right? Again, backwards in our camera. So
it's actually not backwards.
Wonderful ball.
It's straight. It's not backwards. It's straight. Yeah.
Oh,
so we're getting it. We're getting it look great. Yeah.
Oh, you're getting it the right way. Okay.
Yeah.
So cool. So anyway, so there it is. So I have this beautiful ball, which I keep in a case, displayed in my home.
To clarify, you're not giving this away, right?
Yeah, this is not going. Yeah, this is not going. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry to scare.
Just want to make sure
that's not going out the door, but you are getting, a piece of history with the David Tyree thing. I'll tell you what is going out the door, though, and this was the other thing I wanted to get. Is this okay?
Yeah, let's
I told you our friends had played against sports. Upon hearing of our success so far and reaching our 300 subscribers, the owner of Play It Again, who I was down visiting with the other day, said, hey, I want to give you something to give away to your listeners. And so he gave me this Cleveland driver. Okay. Beautiful golf club, head cover here. It is the high.
It's brand new
XL. Okay. Brand spanking new, brand new head cover. I'm going to pull the head cover off, and you can see it still has the plastic on it, for crying out loud. It has not been hit, in perfect condition. All right. Beautiful. It is adjustable both in the back of the driver here, and also you can adjust the loft of the driver here. So you can hit anywhere between 9 and 12, between 9 degrees and 12 degrees, and it has a couple of adjustments in between. So nowadays, drivers, you can just spin them off on their axis here, and you can create more loft or less loft on the driver. I know I'm getting too technical, right? And then, and again, beautiful Golf Pride grip on there. Fantastic. So this is going to be our next big giveaway, Boy Green. So Tyree goes out the door this week, and we will let people know again how you can get a piece of that golf club. I checked it out online. The retail value is about $400 right now.
Goodness. So what level do we have to get for that one, do you think, Lerch?
What's that?
So David Tyree was really cool. 300 subscribers. That was awesome. What level do we need to get our hands on that puppy?
I know. Well, you and I got to discuss that. I don't know.
Okay.
I've got some ideas. I'm not ready to broadcast them yet, but this week, once Tyree goes out the door,
we got to move on to the next thing.
How we're going to give this away. So that's going out the door. We got those Jim Boeheim posters as well. So
good luck to everyone out there.
Anybody that becomes part of our community, you're going to become part of essentially our raffle system, because we want to give the things that we're giving away to people that are part of our community. So there you go.
Awesome. Really cool. So thanks, everybody. And yeah, Craig, appreciate me answering his question. Thanks, BG. You definitely helping distracting me from work. Hey, if that's what we can do, because I know a lot of the times for you normal working people that we are live during work, but any way you guys can do it is good. Shout out to Tio here. He says, enjoying the show. I actually did good last year. He was in one of our leagues in previous years for our fantasy football, which we appreciate. So shout out to Uncle Tio there as well. And I see Macho Talks Sports. That Raiders-Chargers game was painful to watch on the East Coast. SMH, dear NFL, don't do that again. I would, while it did suck to be up till 1 in the morning, but like I prefer the games to be separate than they're rolling over each other. I like it normally on Sundays as we have 100 games on if the Jets aren't playing. Like the Jets play on Monday Night Football Week 4, so I'll get to enjoy the entire football weekend just normal, like any normal fan, which will be really cool.
Right.
And I don't mind games crossing over there. You have fantasy and everything else, but I don't know. Primetime just feels special to me. They should be in these pocket windows. They shouldn't be cross-pollinating. So I was okay with the two games being separate.
Yeah, I guess I was, but I watched the first half of the second game and then bye-bye. Of course, I got an 8 o'clock class on Monday.
Well, so that's always fair too.
That's I got some things to take care of. So that's
question for you though here, Lerch from Phil. Who gets more carries this week? Is it going to be Tyrone Tracy or Cam Scatterboo?
This has been kind of coming up here in the last couple of days, I guess, especially with the fantasy so much on the mind, folks. Yeah. As far as I know, there's nothing wrong with Tracy, correct?
No, right? Not that I know injury-wise.
Putting this out because of injury, right?
No, I'll double check that. But
I mean, I do think that as this season continues, that we are going to see more and more of Cam Scatterboo because he's definitely a fan favorite already. The guy runs hard. He gets the extra yard. We're already seeing him kind of in some short yardage situations. It looks like he can catch it out of the backfield a little bit, albeit he's bobbled a couple of balls. It looked a little goofy. But I still think at this point, okay, if you're asking me today, if you're asking for advice on your fantasy team, who's getting more carries, who's getting more touches, I still think this week it's still Tyrone Tracy. I don't think he's lost that job. I don't think we're at 50-50 level yet. But could we see Scatterboo coming from, say, 20% to 30% or maybe even inevitably 40% of the carries? That's possible. I don't think Scatterboo's going to be RB1 anytime soon on the Giants. That's my take. I could be wrong. I'm not the coach. But I think that but I do think we're going to see more and more of him, and we're going to see, important contributions from him. And like I said, the fans love him. Every time he touches the ball, they love him. So,
yeah. And again, I understand pre-draft, he was a fun player. You guys saw him in the college football playoff, which is a lot of fun too. I see we have Lou B, Super Jets fan in here saying, who are the top 5 quarterbacks of the 2026 NFL draft? I think I could speak for me and Manchild here. I hope we don't have to have these conversations any earlier than we need to. Hopefully there's a lot more season to be had here. But I'll tell you this, it doesn't look as great as it initially looked before the year. Cade Klubnik, who we're going to get some more conversations on, Lerch, this week with Don Munson talking Syracuse Clemson here. Like, oh boy, there have been some real issues for him. I think he has more turnovers than total touchdowns right now.
Yes.
And some of the top, like Arch Manning, obviously, who everyone's been talking about, has been up and down. So a lot of these top flight quarterbacks that everyone said was going to Drew Alar and everybody else, Luby, all the 5 names are the same. Those haven't changed since the offseason of the Penn State kid, Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, all these guys. The names are the same. It's just that the perceived superstardom of these guys have sort of waned. But again, it's very early. Things can change. Joe Burrow, no one knew who he was. Then his final season at LSU, they go undefeated and have a crazy year, and they pop on the screen. So all kinds of things can change in the universe there. Man.
Hey, Yo Holmes says he wants that driver to match. Oh, no. Oh, where is he? There, there he is. I'm sorry. Oh, did you get me out? I think
here we go.
Yeah. Yo Holmes says Cleveland driver would match my Cleveland Irons. Yeah, that's always nice when you have a matched set.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So good luck.
To go wrong with the irons. So, okay. Yep. Just keep passing the word along, Yo Holmes. Maybe you will be that guy. That'd be kind of cool.
And again, it helps everybody. So, again, when we reach, and me and Manchild will determine what this subscriber count will be for this golf club in particular, it helps you guys to try to advocate for us and try to get other people to subscribe, because that gets us to the gifts and prizes faster for all you guys. So make sure you're spreading the good word if you can on the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, our live show and all kinds of content. Jake Asman we're going to have today. Syracuse preview at Clemson this week, fantasy football. I mean, we got so much stuff that's going to be overflowing. Carson Beck, that's another one. Thank you, Phil, for that one. He's been killing it at Miami. Shout out to Carson for doing some good work with the Hurricanes as another quarterback. But yeah, keep spreading the word, guys. The faster we get to these mile markers, the more stuff we can give back to you guys.
Yeah, so I guess I must have missed this, but Phil was also saying that supposedly Tracy made a comment to the media that the Giants were not too happy with.
Okay.
So that was part, because all of a sudden I was hearing this scuttlebutt in the last, I don't know, I'm going to say 12 hours or so about Scadaboo, and I was like, what's going on? Something wrong with Tyrone Tracy? Did he pull a hamstring or something? So Phil, I'll have to backtrack on that. I'm sorry that I don't know that. Usually I'm really plugged in. But yesterday I was literally teaching the entire day, so I was a little bit unplugged yesterday, and this must have happened yesterday. So I'll have to catch up here and see what indeed Tyrone Tracy said, and what has he angered somebody in the organization or something. But I did not know that anything official has happened. I don't think he's been suspended or anything. I'm sure we would have seen something on that in our alerts. So I don't know, but
apparently,
what did he do?
Apparently he made comments about play calling, and Brian Dable. So he had a little bit of a reduced role, which opened up the Cam Scadaboo stuff, I assume, last week. Brian Dable was asked about, was there any correlation to his play call comments to his playing time? So I guess that's what's been bubbling about it. I'll try to see if I can find whatever those comments were from Tyrone Tracy about.
To me, he's still the early down back on this team right now. I mean, I don't see that changing. I do see Scadaboo's role increasing, but I think that's going to be a very slow burn unless Tracy gets hurt. That's my take on this at this point. But again, if you get the coach mad or you get people mad and the team's losing, crazier things have happened. That's for sure.
So. Oh, yes. Here it is. I have it here from Tyrone Tracy, which, again, I guess some of this raised some eyebrows after the game, is that he says, Tyrone Tracy here is the comment, I have to do what's called, but I definitely said we needed to run the ball on the 1 yard line. So, again, when 24-year-olds are making play calling comments, although here's the thing, we don't know the questions, right? So the media asks a question, hey, what did you think about this specific play call? And then he's asked about the play call and answers it. So, right, we don't always have the context, but that's all that's needed sometimes.
The media, man, we're always trying to bait the bear. I mean, we're always looking for stories and we're looking for storylines. So, sometimes we ask, dare I say, those kinds of questions in order to
trap, right?
Maybe get somebody to say something that in an emotional moment that they might let loose, and then you got yourself a story. You got the coaches and the player and playing time.
Everyone talking about it,
But look, the Giants' number one priority right now is to be winning games, and whoever gives them the best chance to win a game, despite what they say in a post-game show, needs to be what's on the field right now. The Giants have a difficult task at hand. They're 0-2, and they're facing a team that hasn't been 0-2 in ages and hasn't been 0-3 in even longer. And, they may be at home, and I do think they're going to give Kansas City a game here, but, the Giants need this one, and the Chiefs need it as well. So something's got to give. One of them is going to be an 0-3 after 3 weeks in the NFL, and that is a death knell, 0-3 in the NFL. So, must win both ways. Desperation. What does desperation do? Does it bring out the best in the team? Does it bring out the worst in the team? So I guess we will find out, dare I say. Anything else on your agenda for today, Boy Green? I know we've got we're dropping some really good content this week. Our conversation with Ed Valentine is coming up, our Giants insider. I did not ask him about that Tyrone Tracy thing, so my apologies that I missed that. I didn't realize that happened in the post. But very good conversation with him. As you mentioned, we're talking with Don Munson, the play-by-play voice of Clemson. Don and I have had a relationship for many, many years. We've previewed a lot of both Clemson football and basketball games against the Syracuse Orange. So we've got that coming up this week as well. That'll always be a fun conversation. This is the first time we've ever done it via video.
Oh, wow. That'll be interesting.
That's going to be fun because he's a very, very interesting guy. So we've got that coming your way. Anthony Prohaska is back on board again to talk all things Bills. We always do that on Thursday. And Jake Asman is our Jets insider again this week. So Jake will be talking all things
today
with us today. So we will be dropping that today. So really, really good week again of content for us. And the usual suspects on Friday. We'll do our NFL picks again.
Yes.
Did you finish over 500, Boy Green? No? Oh, man. Two of us again.
It's been a rough week.
Oh, no.
There's a couple weeks.
Bad one for you? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I know I went 7-8, so that's not great, but it's not awful. I'm still okay.
It could be worse.
Yeah, and I actually felt good about my picks this week, and even though I failed in some spots, some of them could have gone the other way. So it was, this last minute things and things that happen in football that you just, you say, all right, that was an okay pick, even though I lost on that one. Backdoor cover, things like that can happen sometimes. So even though I went 7-8, it was a good 7-8 for me. It wasn't a lucky 7-8. The week before, I was lucky to be 6-9. This was a good 7-8, and I think I'm getting a better feel for the teams of the NFL. It usually takes me a couple of weeks before I really start to feel more confident in the teams I'm picking every week against the spread. But we'll be right back at it doing that again. And conversation with Joe Bartle on Friday. I'm not sure if I'm going to be a part of it or not. I'll try and do a little window in, Boy Green, a peek in, because as you know, I'm going to be on the road on Friday. I'm traveling and going to be out of town for a couple of days over the weekend. So, but I will try to pop in. I'm going to do our football picks with us from the road, and I'll try to pop into Bartle because I have to give Joe Bartle some guff after taking him down in fantasy. There's no way he's getting away without dealing with me on a week where I took him down and we had all that, bluster between.
That's true. There was some of that going on
Friday. So I'll have to show up at least for a window, a little window in.
Ooh, very nice.
With, Joe Bartle to just give him some guff about losing to the Manchild and essentially catapulting me on my stairway to heaven right to first place in our league. Right,
number one.
Only 2 weeks in. I'm not. No way am I getting out of kilter
Your
on
head
that.
big. All right.
It's much better to be in first than it is to be in last. It's much better to be in first than to be in the middle of the pack. It's first is first. When you can be in first, enjoy those moments, folks. I certainly do.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts, if you have any, Boy Green. They're yours.
I just want to thank the fans. It's just so cool. This is humbling. This is an honor to get to do these digital shows for Jets, NFL, and everything that we're doing here together. So to surpass 300 subscribers in such a short amount of time is super cool, and it's thanks to you guys, the fans. So we plan on growing this thing for a long time. We were only 2 months in and change, and look at the results we already have. So, hey, man, thanks for coming on the ride, and hopefully you guys stay with us because we've got a lot of stuff cooking for you guys in the future.
All right, so Jake Asman coming later today. We'll see you live again on Friday. Everybody, thanks so much for watching, and we'll check in with you again soon. Take care.